Holy crap, guys, they actually did it. Wizards of the Coast nuked standard. I'm fine with it personally. Now, I feel like there have been a lot of people who have looked at this article, read it. It's kind of redundant, but I do want to talk about this because this is the biggest ban announcement we've ever had for a format, with the exception of, I guess, Mirrodin, although that one was weird because it was 2 cards and then 6 lands, the artifact lands. So technically it was 8 cards, but it was 2 cards plus a land cycle. And all of that was targeting one deck. This is just wiping the format. Many of the top decks got hit here, and we have never seen this. We've never seen this many bans for this many decks in a ban announcement. It's kind of crazy. So if you haven't seen, we have Corey Steelcutter, Buelo's Awakening, Monstrous Rage, Heartfire Hero, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare, and This Town Ain't Big Enough. This hits many of the top decks. We'll use MTG Goldfish just because I think their layout is a bit better for this discussion for video purposes. So Is of Prowess loses 2 cards. Mono Red Aggro loses a card. Azorius Omniscience dead, or pretty, not really. You could still reanimate Omniscience, but that got hit. 4 color Zur and all the Domain Overlord decks. No more Beanstalk. Orzhov Self Bounce gone. I'm saying gone. They're still playable, but they're all depowered. And then Esper Self Bounce down here. Done. Not to mention all the various red aggro decks like Gruul Aggro, Boros Mice, Rakdos Aggro, Boros Aggro, Gruul Prowess, all of these got hit. It's kind of crazy. Now, I want to talk about where the metagame's going to go and what decks are still playable. All of these decks are technically still playable. If you want to play mono red aggro, you probably got to replace the mouse package, but there's plenty of good red aggro creatures. There's plenty of replacements for Monstrous Rage. It's just worse. But there are decks here that weren't hit by the bans. Dimir mid-range, Azorius Control, Gruul mid-range, Mono Black, Jeskai Control. The Roots, although I will say the Roots deck was more of a response to red aggro. This might go down in power. Oculus 2, still going to be playable. So before I get into this, something I want to discuss. We have never seen this many cards banned. But also, we don't usually get bans like this a month before rotation. So what this means is for the next month, Standard's going to be sorting itself out. There's going to be, like, again, a lot of these decks are still playable. You can still play Overlords without Beanstalk. It's still pretty good. It's just you don't have all the draw. Still good though. You can still play these, but there's going to be a lot of shuffling with the metagame of what's the new best deck, what's the new best aggro. Are you staying mono red or are you going into Boros now? Are you playing Sheltered by Ghost, right? There's a lot up in the air now. And by the time that the dust settles and the format settles down, we have rotation in a month. And that's going to majorly shake things up again. So what I encourage you to do, or rather what I discourage you from doing, is going crazy, spending a bunch of money in paper or spending a bunch of wild cards on Arena, because even as the metagame settles, it's going to get completely upended again a month from now when Standard rotates with Edge of Eternity. So I personally would recommend just playing what you enjoy for the next month. We have another major shakeup coming right around the corner. So find a deck that you enjoy. Don't go too crazy trying to figure out the metagame, because this is like a weird temporary metagame for a month that's going to be gone again and when Edge of Eternity releases. It's a weird thing. When Standard rotates, we're losing all of the Dominaria storyline sets, that being Dominaria United, The Brothers War, March of the Machines, Phyrexia. All of those sets are gone. So let's talk about the decks that weren't touched. So bear in mind that this deck, Dimir Midrange, for example, was already a tier 1 deck before the bans, and now all the decks around it are a little bit weaker. So all of these decks that weren't touched by the bans, they're just as good as they were a couple days ago, and now the format is powered down. So Dimir Midrange, this is the tempo deck. It plays, Drowner, Enduring Curiosity to draw. This has flying, so it draws. It's going to be losing Shieldred. This is going to be a major thing. Kaido, right? This Kaido tempo evasion type of deck. Lots of flying, right? Flying, flash, draws, tap stuff down. It's kind of like, it's pretty aggressive for what feels like a mid-rangey kind of control deck because it plays a ton of control spells. And this is what's going to be interesting post-rotation because this is gone, Cut Down is gone, Go for the Throat is gone. It's showing an Assassin's Creed version, but this is in, what set is it? Is it the Brothers War? Yeah, Brothers War. So this is rotating. Gix's Command is rotating, and Anoint with Affliction. So black decks in general are losing so much of their removal. We have to hope that Edge of Eternities has a couple really good black removal spells, which there's like a whole black hole theme, so maybe it will. But yeah, black decks are weird. And this is why I would discourage you from going crazy and crafting a bunch of cards because the format is going to change a whole lot again in a month. But yeah, this deck, totally fine. If you play this deck already, it's going to be better. It's going to be better because, well, everything else is weaker. Then we have Azorius Control, which also loses nothing to the bans. In terms of rotation, it will lose Temporary Lockdown, although depending on how the metagame shakes up, it might be less necessary anyway. And we do have a replacement with Split Up. Split Up is much worse, it doesn't exile, but with Emberheart Challenger out, the exile is not necessary. The best alternate for the hero is Cacophony Scamp, and that will be rotating as well. So post-rotation, Split Up probably perfectly fine for the aggro decks because they're not going to have the hero and the Cacophony Scamp that deal damage to you when they die. So that's useful. So the exile is, we'd still like Temporary Lockdown, but I think Split Up is going to be fine post-rotation. And yeah, this deck's fine. We didn't lose stock up. That was on the discussion table for a lot of people. Will we lose stock up? And the answer is no, doesn't look like it. And everything else here is fine. Then we have the Golgari mid-range deck. This deck is going to be fine. It does lose a lot to rotation. It has all the removal, right? All the removal that we've been talking about. It also loses Terra Sunder. So no Cut Down, no Go for the Throat, Anoint with Affliction, Terra Sunder, Gix's Command, all going away. We'll also be losing Glissa and Shieldred. So that's a lot. But yeah, this deck is going to be fine for the next month. If you play this, it's more powerful now. But it is losing a lot to rotation, so it's hard to say how this is going to hold up after Edge of Eternities releases, but if you have this already, it's a good deck to choose right now. Next we have Mono Black Mid-Range. This is a deck that very heavily relies on all of this removal again, which once again will all be gone. I also think that the Unholy Annex is interesting because it pairs with Archfiend of the Dross, which is going to be rotating. So Unholy Annex loses its best demon. So I don't know if this deck still plays Unholy Annex, but what does survive rotation, it's not showing here. Does this become a demon when it flips? No. But we keep the Unstoppable Slasher and Bloodletter of Aclazotz combo. So the instant win combo is still going to be available for this deck. But look at what it loses. It loses Shieldred, it loses Gix, it loses all the removal, and Unholy Annex becomes much worse because we're losing Archfiend of the Dross. So it's interesting. This deck is probably going to be Unstoppable Slasher focused, assuming it survives rotation. But yeah, it's another deck that if you're playing this already, it's good for now. And then there's the Oculus decks, which I think this might be one of the, it's probably the most degenerate deck in terms of like just cheesing wins. Yeah, getting an Oculus out on turn 3 is probably the most like unfair thing you can do in standard right now. I would assume that and the Bloodletter of Aclazotz instant win. So yeah, this is good, and it's not losing much to rotation. None of the creatures right now that this one is showing. It does lose Recommission, but you'll notice that only 60% of decks play a copy. It is Helping Hand that is the main reanimator, and this is the Lost Caverns. It will stay. Nothing else here is too bad. So yeah, this deck is going to be fine after rotation, and I think it's going to be pretty good right now. So that's a good deck if you have it. I would recommend this one for sure. And then I suppose we can also talk about the Roots deck. So this deck is interesting because it had an insanely good win rate against the Monstrous Rage type of decks. And so it was very popular at the Pro Tour and it still didn't make the top 8. If you look at the meta breakdown, I wish I had it. I don't have it. But this deck had like a 60% win rate against red aggro. And then it had like a 35 to 40% win rate against everything else. So while this was very powerful at the Pro Tour, it's hard to say if this is going to be worth playing after rotation and after these bans. Now, if you are a red aggro player, what do you do now? First off, as I said, you can still play red aggro. You're going to replace the Heartfire hero with Cacophony Scamp, and the mice, Manifold Mouse, becomes much less good. It still works with the Emberheart Challenger, but it feels pretty bad. You're also losing Monastery Swift Spear to rotation. There's still a very good red aggro deck here. You still have Hired Claw. Swift Spear is good for the next month. Screaming Nemesis is still very good. Cacophony Scamp in place of Heartfire Hero is totally fine. And these decks aren't playing, as you notice, it's not playing the Slick Shot. So you could take one of these mice out for a Slick Shot. There's plenty of 1 mana pump spells for Monstrous Rage. And I think this deck is still pretty fine. It's just not stupidly broken. The turn 1 Heartfire Hero into turn 2 Manifold Mouse into Monstrous Rage just felt backbreaking. And that's not there now. So it's just going to be a much more fair red aggro deck. And it still has Screaming Nemesis too, which is just a stupid card. It might be the best card in the deck now. I mean, technically, Monastery Swift Spear really good. But, I mean, this card is still like, painful. So, yeah, deck's still good. If you're worried about red aggro and you want to play a good aggro deck that didn't lose anything, you're probably looking right here. Grow Delirium. I might be a little bit biased here. This is it might be my most played and favorite deck in Standard. This deck does require a bit more nuance because it's trying to balance this weird get stuff in the graveyard for Delirium, but also be aggressive. This deck can have very explosive starts. It can sometimes kill as early as turn 3 or 4. All the Delirium stuff, of course, is in Duskmourn. So you have your core Delirium payoff package Sting, and this is a very good aggro deck that's 100% playable, not only now, but probably after rotation, considering Ren has already been replaced by this thing. So yeah, what a weird thing. We have never seen this before. So let me open this. This is a pretty interesting graphic. Legend VD posted it on X. I don't know if he made it or if he just reposted it, but it's interesting regardless. So 2005 Affinity was the biggest ban we've ever seen. But again, these lands is what made it big. It was 2 cards. It was these 2 cards and then the lands, right? So technically a big ban announcement, but 2 cards. And this just gutted Affinity. It technically lost Skull Clamp as well. So it lost 3 cards plus the lands. We've also had bigger like banned standards, Fire Design and Eldraine. My god, so much Eldraine. Was there anything else up here? Oh, Lucky Clover, Escape to the Wilds. So that was the biggest and worst standard. I mean, look at this, right? It was terrible, but this all came in batches. We've never just had this many cards banned in a single announcement. And the fact that it's preceding a rotation it makes this the most unique ban sequence event ever. This was also a big ban, but this was also in pieces. Not all of these got banned at once. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. If you're new to the game, first off, what a glorious time, man. No, that was a different time. 10 years, we had 2 bans. And then we've been here. This, by the way, Magic Arena, released in technically 2018, but 2017 was when it went into beta. All of these bans started right at the start of Arena, Magic Arena, right? So, you know, it's a different era. What can you say? But this is just a lot of banned cards over here, all at once, and that's an interesting thing. And again, nuke the entire format, not one single deck, and not spread out over multiple bans like these 2. One ban and the entire format just gets nuked, man. It's crazy. So it's interesting, and I will repeat at the end of this video now. Don't go too crazy crafting stuff. Save your wild cards. Play what you enjoy. Make do with what you have. I would take this month, that being July, and just have fun. Play the cards you already have. And, you know, the format's going to be different. The decks you're going to be playing against are going to be different. They're going to be weaker. And let the Edge of Eternity set release. And at that point, we'll know where the metagame is going to be. This is like a free month to just have some fun. That's my recommendation. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope this was useful in some way. Leave a like if you want to. And I will see you in the next one.